Hello and welcome to Motor Week. On this week's programme we have a Subaru head-to-head between the old WRX versus the new. Plus Richard Hammond's been over to Sheffield to look at the latest offering from specialist sports car manufacturer Ginetta.
Typical, isn't it? You've finally got your dream car, Subaru Impreza Turbo WRX, and there you are, you have arrived. The hottest kid in town, the coolest guy on the block, unbeatable. And then what happens to completely ruin your day? Subaru go and introduce a new one. Thank you very much. The launch of any car that enjoys the kind of cult status enjoyed by the Impreza Turbo is one tense moment. Get it right, the world will love you. Get it wrong, well, they'll call you some very nasty names. So let's establish right from the start, they haven't got it wrong at Subaru. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's just a case of whether they've got it just right with the degree of compromise. The thing is, it would be very easy for a car as supremely competent as the Impreza to be, well, lacking a little bit in personality. But because at its heart there is that glorious flat four boxer formation engine, belting out, apart from the power, just that fantastic noise. And there's the way it delivers the power as well. Torquey, chunky. It's a really characterful engine to drive. It may look slightly dopier, in fact it does look slightly dopier, let's be honest about it, but it's not lost the edge when it comes to driving, which is just as well because that engine is quite capable of throwing you at corners at speed. You need to be able to get through them, and you will. The four-wheel drive system, still race bred, still one of the best on the road. It's enormous fun, huge amounts of grip. Not so many years ago, God, I love this noise, a car that gave this kind of performance, well, it had yet to be invented. And then when it was available, you'd have had to sell your house and your neighbours to buy it. Now though, at what, £22,000? It's phenomenal value. You're buying a supercar for ordinary company car runabout money. It's incredible. Thing is, the Impreza is like no other. A car that is full of contradictions. What have you got? Underneath, it is a supercar, undeniably, but then it looks, well, supremely sensible. And then again, sometimes it doesn't look sensible at all. It looks like this. It's mad. I've said that the looks of the new WRX are a little tame, and it begins to look even more cuddly when it's alongside the older model. Straight, angular lines have been replaced with flowing curves, and spoilers and bonnet intakes have been tamed. Yet the new WRX is a shape that even your granny would approve of. It's not just the looks that have been compromised for the new WRX though, it's the drive, which in the new car is noticeably more cosseting and comfy than the previous model. Especially compared to this particular model, which is, shall we say, not entirely standard. Let's put it this way, how does 300 brake horsepower sound? Ah, tasty. Impreza Turbo used to be about. Immediately, this thing is just, it is. I mean, you know, it always has been and it still is. It's a beast of a thing. But look, we've got to be fair here, because this isn't entirely standard. It is an STI, and they didn't used to bring them into the UK officially when it was around, so this would have been a Japanese import. so it would have been a bit more nutty. It always would have had more power than the current one, but this has been further boosted to about 300 brake horsepower. It's been lowered on the suspension and a few other spoiler mods, but it's not far off a direct comparison between old and new WRX. This is just a more basic feel. We're on lower profile tyres here as well, so you can feel every single ripple. And the steering, just impossibly direct. Think through your fingertips and it changes direction before you're even aware you want to go that way. It really is. You wear the car, you don't just drive it. That sounds corny, but it is true. Nope, there is no doubt about it. The old Impreza is by far and away the sharper and more brutal of the two cars. But maybe its time is done. It's completed the job it was given to set out to do, and that was to become an icon and to put Subaru on the map. So maybe the company did the right thing in letting the new car grow up just a little bit. Let it stray just a little further into the realms of comfy. But don't let that fool you, because the Impreza is still one hot car.
Question: why are sports cars that we all dream about never ever affordable? It has to be one of the most frustrating things in motoring. Well, I've got very good news. I've gone and found us a brand spanking new, very affordable sports car. Even better news is, it's British. MG have always been known for bringing authentic sports car motoring to the masses, and this is the new MG FI. It's the newest version of the MGF model that resurrected the famous MG badge back in 1995. But it's nearly £1,500 cheaper at £15,500. MG have achieved this rather Scrooge-like feat by slipping a 1.6 litre engine to replace the 1.8 unit that's in the standard model. So I can hear you saying, what's the snag? All this car? It's the 1.6 engine. You think it's going to be absolutely gutless, like a family runabout. Well, don't be so sure. Okay, we're not talking fireball here. You're never going to get that with a 1.6. And the figures aren't that impressive either. 0 to 60 in 9.3 seconds, top speed 116 miles an hour. You can get that bettered by quite a lot of family saloons these days, but that's missing the point. They can't put the roof down. They can't enjoy wind in the hair motoring. It always seems stupid when I say wind in the hair motoring. And I tell you what, it may only be 1.6, but this is a very lively 1.6 engine. It's got a lot of low-down torque, goes really well all the way through the gears. You actually have to push the car hard through the gears to get the maximum. But that's part of the enjoyment of driving a sports car. If you really want the seat of the pants stuff, then, you know, I suggest you go on a racing track. That's the place for that. You can go around there sideways and whatever way you want, and you're not really putting anybody else at risk. Another practical thing about this MGF is just how economical it is for a sports car. You get a combined figure of 38.4 mpg, nearly 50 on a long run, and you still get 28.2 mpg around town. Well, congratulations MG Rover, you have done the business. A true sports car that's affordable enough for real motorists.
The city of Sheffield. It may not be the most glamorous in the world, but you'd be amazed at just what's come out of the place. There's Sheffield Steel, of course. There's Sheffield Wednesday. And then there's, well, there's the Full Monty, obviously. Suit yourselves. And then there's this from Ginetta, the G20. It may look pretty modern and swoopy and futuristic, but start to look at it and you can see how its roots go back some 40 years. And at the haunches, there's certainly something of the old Jaguar C and D type race cars. At the front, these lights, by the way, nicked from a Mazda MX-5. You don't need me to tell you this is obviously a stripped out bare racer, and that's both good and bad. Bad because you find it's lacking certain things like, well, doors, which can be a bit inconvenient and a little inelegant to say the least. And then we settle into the cockpit and, right, well, it's a bit chilly, so let's have the heater on, shall we? No, I haven't got one of those. Rainy, windscreen wipers? No. Windscreen? No. Windows? Nah. In fact, nothing, not even a stereo. But we do have a big red button that does that, which is good. Probably the only thing you actually do get in here is the engine up front there. It's a Ford unit. You've got a choice of either a 2-litre Pinto or the more modern and smaller 1.8-litre Z-Tech. And it is good news that they're Ford, because that means, well, there's loads and loads of them. Parts will be cheap. With what is a reasonably powerful engine then, and a car that weighs less than a packet of fags and has got absolutely no adornments, not surprisingly, performance is pretty good. We'll get from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 6.4 seconds and a top speed of 126. But remember this, there is no windscreen here, so you're going to be picking flies out of your teeth for weeks. You can't breathe. When you're driving it, it really does remind you of some of those big 60s racers. But it's small. This is a tiny car. It's actually smaller in pretty much every direction than a Nissan Micra. Good news is, the price tag's pretty dinky too. For a built one of these, you'll pay about 13 grand, about 8 grand to have one in kit form. If you put that into context in the market, for 50 quid less than that 13 grand, you could have the entry-level Caterham, but that's only a 1.6. A Westfield, basically the same sort of car, 1.8 entry level is 2 grand more. The nearest volume manufactured car would be the Mazda MX-5, but that's nearly 2 grand more again. And it's a completely different beast, really, far more civilized. It's not a bare racer like this. There's actually quite a lot of Ford bits here, as well as the engine. Most of the running gear, so the suspension components, are all Sierra source, which doesn't sound exciting. But of course, it's all down to the setup and the car that they're used on. Because big family hatch, this ain't. Every little input through the steering wheel results in a small change of direction, and you can feel that change of direction, and every move the car's making fed back through the wheel to you and through the seat of your pants as well. So it really is a proper little race car feel, and of course most of these will be used on tracks. As driving experiences go, it is a marvellous feeling having no windscreen. I don't even know if you can hear me because the wind is... it is definitely wind in your teeth and flies in your hair or something like that. More than a bit breezy. But you really do feel you're making progress. You know, there's something really rather invigorating about driving around in a bare, stripped-out racer, particularly in the hometown of the Full Monty here in Sheffield. It's something that I could really rather start to enjoy. I might even take it up more often. It is a bit breezy, but we'll be all right. As long as there's no rain, I reckon we'll be fine. I love vinyl seats, nice.
Well, that's it for part one, but after the break, Glenda McKay has a special lifestyle feature looking at the Mercedes SLK and the smart car.
Image. It's a very important word these days. Whether you're Jerry Halliwell, Tony Blair, a TV presenter or a motorist, you are, as they say, what you drive. So, you know you want an image, but what kind of image do you want? Do you want posh, refined, elegant, well-built, bit of a poser and definitely wedged? Or zany, mad round the edges, kind of person that dances at the most inopportune moments, fun to be around kind of guy? So these cars definitely have different images, but surprisingly it's the same type of people that are buying them. It's those confident, successful type with a couple of cars in the garage already and definitely a couple of £100 in the bank. So which one shall I try out first? Posh? Zany? Posh? Zany it is. Now, although the smart car is obviously a lot quirkier looking than the Mercedes, it's actually quite comfortable, easy and surprisingly grown up to drive. And once you're behind the wheel, you feel like you're in a much bigger car. Well, maybe not that big. Now, because this car is so light and the wheelbase is so short, cornering is loads of fun and effortless, but beware. The 600cc engine means it's got enough grunt to easily get you out of shape on the corners. This car was not designed for the windy country roads, and if you go too fast into a bend, you're going to frighten yourself. Now, this latest smart car has got an added bit of extra fun in the shape of a roof, or the lack of it. You could simply wind it back like this, or you can actually take these bits off and put them in the boot, as long as you're sure it's not going to rain. Now, the Smart isn't the heaviest car in the world, but the solid aluminium chassis means that it doesn't lose any of its drivability, even without the roof. The Smart cabs all come in top-of-the-range Smart and Passion trim, which gives you a host of goodies such as air conditioning, leather steering wheel, airbags, alloys and super funky rev counter and clock, which I especially like. Funky and cool as it is, £9.5 grand for a car will leave your wallet smarting. Yes, it's pretty much the cheapest convertible on the road and it looks like nothing else, but for value for money, it is a bit steep. But today isn't about value for money, it's about style. And if you want a car that's definitely going to be a pose, it's going to be talked about, and it's going to be a massive bundle of practical fun, then Smart it is. It's going to be exactly what it says on the tin. So, from 9 grand's worth of fun to £25,000 worth of German elegance in the shape of this, the Mercedes SLK 200 Compressor. Though the shape has been around for a while, the car was revised last year to bring it more up to date. And though a V6 is available, at 25 grand you get the base 4-cylinder 2-litre. But even the cheapest SLKs do come with that awesome folding hardtop, now seen on the Peugeot 206 and Lexus SC430. And of course, not forgetting the all-important 3-point star. Seeing as this is a more, shall we say, conventional car, you can have instantly more fun out of town. And as luck would have it, the SLK is set up to give a sporting ride, and yet a ride that is refined enough to fit the badge. Certainly more of a wind in the hair experience than the Smart car. Now, having driven the Smart car, the Mercedes with the roof up actually feels quite pokey inside. Not that it is cramped, it's just that the Smart car unbelievably feels really big. But we've got the roof down now on the Mercedes, and as you'd expect, it is a lot more refined. We've got this, well, interesting blue and black leather interior, and we've got the odd splash of chrome. But to be honest, it isn't up to the build quality and finish of some of the bigger Mercedes. This is definitely a case of you get what you pay for. Though the SLK may be style on wheels and it's got the badge of the moment, the engine is a real letdown. Even though this is the cheapest SLK you can have, you'd expect there to be a bit more grunts. Even with a supercharger, that's what compressor means, the engine only produces 163 brake horsepower, and it needs a silly amount of revs to make it feel alive. And as for the exhaust note, well, Robin Cook's political speeches have got more zest. Overall, I'm a little bit disappointed with the SLK, especially having driven the design braking smart car. I mean, yes, it does look gorgeous and the drive is okay, but to me it just doesn't warrant being a Mercedes. I mean, I'm sure the SLKs with bigger engines are fantastic to drive, but a Mercedes should be a Mercedes in every aspect, not just with the badge. But the whole premise of this item was about image. And I don't suppose the handling of your SLK will matter too much as you pose your way up and down the highways and the byways of middle-class England. But for me, the smart car is the image that I'd want to put out because it's more fun, it's more relaxed, and it isn't taking itself too seriously. Because, after all, it's only a car.
Well, that's it for Motor Week this week, but on next week's programme, as one of the many features, we'll be looking at the dark horse of the luxury convertible market, the Volvo C70. We'll see you next week.